Hey guys, today we're gonna go over the exploded axonometric chunk drawing, and the first thing I'm gonna show you guys is how to do the diagram where you show the project itself of the chunk. So the first thing that you obviously have to do is you need to have and create a chunk of your model. So what that means is that you cut a piece of it again, like not just doing a rectangle, right? Not just doing a rectangle like this and up and then doing a Boolean difference and sectioning it out, or more about a study that you grab out. So I will get creative with it, and maybe like you even go to your top view and you go and you can directly cut a shape out, or you can create a shape out depending what you're trying to explore, and you can create within that shape something that you're interested in to explore in section, and then you can extrude that and then boolean that out of the massing that you have already, or the project that you have already. Make sure that your geometry is clean. Make sure that the model that you're trying to cut is clean, so you don't have to go through the trouble of trying to that the model's not cutting. So obviously the cleaner your model is, the easier this part is going to be to do. Pick an exciting part of your project that you really want to explore and then cut that part out, and then after that you're going to have a chunk of your project. So again, a chunk of your project is just a moment that you isolate that you want to explore. So obviously in this moment right here, I was exploring more the circulation and how you go from one floor, how do you look from one floor to another one. This was supposed to be a wind tower, and how the wind tower starts to affect the space and the temperature and also lighting. So again, like I didn't really show everything in the cut. I started to take things away. So like some of the slabs, I brought them back. So this slab was like right here when I cut it. I brought it back so then I can just have it in a specific area. So as you can see, my cut is not perfect. So it does jog and then fluctuates depending what I wanted to focus on. So like it's more interesting when you do it like that, because you start to then envision more elements in a different way than just having a perfect cut. So again, please cut your model in an interesting way. Don't just do a rectangle and a Boolean difference and call it a day. Go and detail it out as much as you can. It doesn't have to have furniture. I don't really care about the furniture or the people right now. Right now, it's more about how the spaces are working, what type of materials you're using, how the facade is behaving, but from the exterior to the interior. So again, get creative with it, get a cool moment, and then from when you have that and you have developed that, then you can move on to the drawing. And this is going to help you, again, like I explained in class on Wednesday, it's going to help you to understand more um your project in a specific moment, right? So since it's not all about the massing itself, but it's also about the little details that are happening. So once you have that, I want you to make sure that your model, right? So your chunk model, you fit it where you cut it from. Obviously, in a diagrammatic way, if you're adding stuff to it and you're like experimenting within the chunk itself, make sure that you have a reference point. So for me, for example, if I take it out, if I did that copy, if I take this model out, my reference point was this point right here. So when I grab it, the command move, and when I grab it and I put it in, then it matches specifically in that area. Um, so again, I don't have to worry about the other. If I have other details or anything like that, I don't have to worry about that, because at the end of the day, I'm doing the drawing in this view for the diagram. So again, like for me specifically, that's the chunk that I picked. This is the way that I'm gonna do the drawing in terms of the view. So I'm gonna do it in an accent view. This is just a regular isometric. So if you type isometric, I picked the Southwest view, and then that's the view that I'm gonna be doing. So uh, now for the next step, which is to make 2D of the model itself, of the big model, and also the chunk model. One thing I like to do, I like to group what I'm using, so then I can just click it once and I can move it around and it's just one entity. The other things I locked it. So if I do unlock, then I can go to the other group and I can then make 2D of that. So they're all in the same spot. So I'm going to show you the final product because I already did this process, but I want to show it to you so you can see what it is going to look like. Um, this is the final product that I had, at least for the example that I'm going to show. So again, I have my model, then I have my chunk, and then I have the hidden lines of what I'm cutting through, and I'll explain further how you do that. But the whole point of that is to understand where the chunk is being cut and obviously where those hidden lines that I'm cutting through, so you see where the model comes from are. Um, as you can see, my line weight, I'm using the template that I gave you guys, and I have my print display right now. If I do print display, that's how I have my line weight on. If I turn it off, then you go back to regular lines. So if I go back on, then the line would turn on, and I have a scale of 40 right now, at least for my window that was working, depending how big your project is. But this project is relatively the same size that you guys have your row homes. So and right now I'm working 1-to-1 scale, so this is 2 scale. I'm not working a different scale. um, so again, you can probably do scale 40 if you're working with my template, which I should suggest you do so that you can see your line weights and how things are turning on. um, so yeah, so that's like the final output that I had gotten. So I'll show you how I got there. And then for the exploded axon, this is uh not done yet. I got it to a spot where I have my line weights, I have my mesh outlines, and then after that, we're gonna do another step that I want you guys to explore and try, which are gonna be hatches, and I'll explain in a little more how to do that. So now let's go back to that view that we had. So the first thing that we want to do, again, make sure that I'm in my view. And there are 2 ways to do this. We can either do it this way, or we can do it with the model already rotated in top view, which looks like this, right? So right now, usually, well, the generic view of an axonometric in Rhino is a 60-30 angle. So it's a 60-30 isometric view. So right now I have my 3D model in a 30-60 isometric view. Both is rotated, and it's from the top view is basically almost like a make 2D, right? The reason why I do that is so then when I'm drawing on the top view, if I'm missing something, I can be drawing hand to hand next to the model. And if I want to do anything here, I can just literally do a make 2D really quick and then just change it here. So that's why I do this in terms of modeling and also drawing. The other reason is to do hatches, and that's why I wanted to go over on here. We're not really going to do hatches on this one because this is more of a location diagram, so you don't want it to get too busy. This one is more about the contours that you add outside of it, the mesh outline, then how you do the offsets, and then how do you graphically do this. I picked a color specifically, like just to make it more fun and more interesting. And I made the lines white to make the chunks stand out a little bit more, and then I made the rest of the project a light gray, so it's not like super important because the focus, the central focus of this whole thing is this diagram here. So um to the right, so to go back to why I'm doing it in the top view 30-60 degree angle is because I want to be able to add hatches, and that's what we're gonna go over here. Hatches, to be able to make 2D of some hatches, you have to explode them. That makes the drawing more heavy. So what you do is that you have the model turned into a 30-60 in the top view. So then basically when I do a hatch on the surface, then I can just copy it and put it on my drawing. So and then at the end when I print my drawing, it's gonna look like like a make 2D. So I'll show the whole process for that. So the first thing that you want to do, if you're gonna do it with the view, obviously, you're gonna make 2D of your model first. So we're gonna use the script that I have given you guys, the make 2D script. So what that script is gonna do is basically it's gonna give you a more thorough make 2D line work, and it's gonna look way cleaner than the regular make 2D. So we're gonna use that script that I shared with you guys. So to use it, just make sure that you go File, and then you go New, Empty Script, and then you're gonna just open that script. So I have it right here, which is the make 2D, which is this one. I already had it inside. So it's gonna show up. You don't have to touch anything here. All you have to do is press right here where it says start debugging. You click it, right? So then it's gonna tell you select geometry for make 2D. So then I'm gonna select that geometry. I'm gonna press enter. Then it's gonna load depending how heavy your model is. And it's gonna give me the make 2D with all the layers and all the hidden lines, right? So at least I did not use hidden lines for this diagram because I don't want it to look too busy. We're only using hidden lines to show this area here that we're gonna cut right now. So again, so I get my model. I don't really want the hidden lines, so I'm gonna go into hidden lines, and I'm gonna just delete them for now, or just hide them. If you don't wanna, well, let's just delete them because we're really not gonna use them. I'm not requiring these to be used, at least for this drawing. So I'm gonna have this drawing now. Now, when you have this, obviously there's gonna be a little bit of imperfections depending on your model, how you model this. So like you see how I'm getting this like weird lines or some things are not connecting. I mean, that's like the make to these never gonna be 100% perfect. So what I would do now is go in and start fixing the model like as much as you can, so then the diagram is clean. Depending how much resolution the model has, then I'll go in and start cleaning. And at least with the script, it does it the best possible. So then you're gonna have minimal work. But I suggest that you go in, which I already did in this drawing. I went in, I took some time, maybe like 15-20 minutes, and I took in and I went to clean lines that didn't make sense or they were not close, and I edited them. So that's why I always say that a make to these, not the final drawing. You have to go beyond that and check to see what are the little specks and lines that don't make sense in the drawing that don't need to be there. So please go in and check your work, clean your diagram. Once you're done with that, then go back to your Axon view. Make sure you reset it. You have it on the view that you have it. And then I'm just gonna make 2D of my chunk, right? So I'm gonna make 2D of that. So then now I'm gonna have my chunk here. I have it also with hidden lines, so I'm gonna get rid of those. Say yes to all, so now I have my chunk here. Now, to be able to put this model here and be able to get this result that I have here, it's gonna take a couple steps on that. But first thing is we wanna get a mesh outline of this guy and obviously this guy. So let's start first with this guy. So I can either do a curve boolean here. Sometimes if you don't have your geometry perfectly close, it might not work. But if you don't do a mesh outline from the model, you can also do a curve boolean like I'm doing. So again, you select your model, you do curve boolean, then you select the outside of the model so it grabs the outline, and then there you go, you have your outline of your model now. So that's why outline. If you want to do it the other way, you can go back to your view, go to the model, you do mesh outline. Sometimes it depends on the model itself. So sometimes I'll just take it out. I'm gonna ungroup it. And then this is something I like to do. If you have a heavy model, you don't want to select everything. Wait, delete this one. You can just select the outer stuff. So let me ungroup this. You can just select the outer stuff of your model, so then it's not really picking up everything. So now that I make sure that I selected everything in my outer layer, so I'm not picking the interior stuff of this model, I can just do mesh outline. And these are just little tricks for you to know, and like, unless you're not getting a mesh outline. And then there you go, I got my mesh outline. So it didn't work when I picked the whole model, but for some reason it does work when I pick my edges only. So just pick your outer boundaries on your model, like just pick the poly surfaces, and then make sure that you select those, so then when you do the mesh outline, it comes out nice. And then I'll do a make 2D of that. With this one, you don't have to run the script. I would just do a straight up make 2D. You can take out hidden lines on that. The script works better for a full model, so you get the best resolution possible. So that's my outline, my outer line. So I have it right here. I'm going to take out my line weights out for a second to work. One thing that if you work with line weights, sometimes you don't really get to see like where the ending point is because it's thicker. I turn it off just to be a little more precise. So for now, I'm going to turn that off. the line weight, so then I can be a little more precise when I do this process. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this here. I'm going to put it right on this model. So once you're done, I have some imperfections here, obviously. I'm not going to go and clean that up. I already have one that I did it, but for you guys, please clean your model. Make sure that you have no imperfections within your geometry. So now I have this line here. Now, what I want to do is I want to make another copy of this. So I want to have 2 copies, right? One copy is going to be so I can retain the information here. And then one copy is going to be so I can retain the information of the outside of this curve. So everything around it. So now we're going to want to make sure this globe is curved. The curve that you're using is closed. If you have an open curve, the next step is not going to work. So please make sure that your mesh outline is closed completely. Okay. So now I'm going to group. I'm just going to group the house so it's easier to select. So I'm going to group that here. And then I'm going to just delete this guy so I can just copy that group. So bring that here. Now I have 2 groups and I have the line. Now, for the next step, you're going to use the other code, the other Python script that I gave you guys. It's called multi-nested boundary trim curves. And again, you don't have to touch anything in the script. It's already done. All you have to do is click the start debugging button. So you click that. Then it's going to tell you select boundary curves for trimming. Now I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to select the boundary curve that we created. I'm going to press enter. Then after that, select curves to trim. I want to trim the house. So then I'm going to select the group, which is easier to select instead of selecting the whole thing. I'm going to press enter. So then now this part is very critical. It says trim inside or trim outside. For this one, I want to trim inside. So then I keep the house, the outer part of the house. So again, you have to click it. So for the first step, we're going to trim inside of this. So I'm going to press enter. And then now it's going to do its job and it's going to start by itself loading. And then you're going to see now that the Python script comes back on. And then now my trimming is done for that area. So I'm good there. So now the next step I want to do the opposite. So again, bring my Python script. I'm going to play it one more time. Then I'm going to click the curve. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to select the entire model. I'm going to press enter. And now we're going to trim outside, right? So it deletes the outside of the house. And I'm going to press enter. So now it's going to stay splitting curves. Don't touch anything. Usually when this goes, just let Python work. Depending how much lines it needs to trim, that's how long it needs to take. Since this is very similar, I'm sure for you guys it's going to be the same. Make sure that you have no furniture or no people or no anything. Just keep it very open and just architecture, wall spaces, all good stuff. So, okay, now I can get out of the script for now. And then now I have 2 layers. I have this layer and then I have this layer. Now this layer is going to be my dash line layer, which is going to look like this, the way I have it here. So that's my dash line, right? So then I know when I put my chunk, I know what I cut through, and then I can see the geometry that I'm then like being part of and where the geometry was cut, where did it belong, and that's why the whole point to do that, to understand that. So now I'm going to just grab this with my pointer reference, and I'm going to put it here. I'm going to still leave it grouped. Do not ungroup it because then it's going to be painful to like select. So keep it grouped. Now I want to put that in my dash layer. So I have a dash line layer here, right? And then here's my dashes. Obviously, I don't have my line weights on, so it's going to be a little bit light. So that's what I want to have in dashes. So when you guys do that, that's your dash layer. And then now this model here, I'm going to put that, since I was doing color, I was doing a white layer. But before I do that, I'm going to grab my outer edge and I'm going to do a hatch. I'm going to hatch it and I'm going to do a solid. Now for this solid, you can change it to whatever color you want. So if you want, you can create yourself a new layer that says hatch. Or even that, since if you're working in this template specifically, you can go into the hatch. Let me get rid of this. You can go into the hash folder that I have here. You can create one here so you keep it organized. So here I'm going to go here and I'm going to just say color hatch. Right. And then here I can change it to whatever color I want. So I'm here. I'm going to select change object layer. So then it goes to that layer. And then I'm going to click it. Well, you don't have to click it. You can just now go here and use kind of like now play with colors. Like I will stay away from bright colors. Let's keep like the coloration within the middle here so that it looks a little more pastel and not bright. So whatever color that you end up picking, it can be black though. You can do a black with white, which is also very nice. I'm just giving you guys the option to do some color because I think it's nice and it makes the diagram to feel more alive, you know? So again, I will stay within this line here, probably more within this realm in the graph of colors. I wouldn't go out here. That looks too bright and it's too much. So let's keep it like around here. So for this one, I'll keep it there. Now I have my hatch. I have my hidden lines that I put. Now on the file that I gave you guys on the hidden lines, you're going to have to change the scale so they look like this. To do that, you're going to go to units or Rhino options. Then you're going to go into line types. And then you're going to see a model space scale number here. I believe if it doesn't say 100, it might say like 130. Put the number, change it, and put it to 40. Let's say I put this number to 100 and I put OK. You can see how my lines get bigger, right? They just get like, it's like the dash strokes are bigger. So I don't want that. So if I go back and I go back to my line types, I'm going to change that to 40 because that's what looks better in my view. And obviously you can play with that to see what looks better. So if you want to have different dash, since you're only going to have one dash layer, then I think this is okay, at least if you're doing all of this in Rhino, because I'm going to do the entire process in Rhino so you guys get used to a different workflow than Illustrator. And then basically you're done. Once you're done in Rhino, you're done doing the drawing. All you have to do is just print it. So that's why I like to work in Rhino and doing them in Rhino, because you get the same results unless you're doing something very specific and very like niche to Illustrator that you can't do in Rhino, which it could happen. Then obviously you move to Illustrator. But since I already have it here, I'm not going to move to Illustrator. So I just work with my settings to make sure that I have something that is working. So for that layer specifically, which is the dotted 2 layer, I have it, the line weights at 0.35, and I'm using the hidden line type. Again, to change your line type, if you go to units or Rhino options, you go to line types, and then this is the line type for this one. You can change the segments as well. Like if you make a copy of this, or you create a new line type, which right here on the top, if you put copy, so if I click on here and I do copy, it creates another one. You can change the name and put custom or whatever you want to call it, custom dash. You can then start off from that medium, right? You go to here and then I can change the segment. So I can make that even smaller if I wanted to. So like, or make it bigger first for change. But let's say that I want it at 1, I'll do 1.00, comma 1.00, and I'll put OK. And then if I were to change this line weight, this one, to my custom, which is this. So if I go right here and I click on hidden, then I go into my custom dash line and I put OK, then you can see that they're tinier. So again, like either do it this way or you can do it the way that I was showing you before, which it was keeping the same line weight, but just changing the model space scale. So I'll leave that up to you. And if you want to have just multiple different lines that you can just switch back and forth, then you can. So, but at least for this, you're only going to need one dash line type. So I would either create one type or I would just stick to, what do you call it? Or I will stick to just using the model space dash lines. Okay, so now that I went over that, I'm going to now grab my model. I'm going to put that in my white layer, which I have it here is secondary 4. And I have a 0.18 of line weight. I don't have it that thick. Let me double check if I put it on that one. Did I? So I did put it on, oh no, I put it on secondary 3. So since I can't see my line weights right now, it's kind of hard to tell. But I'm going to grab this whole thing. I'm going to put it into my secondary 3, which is 0.5 at white. Make sure it's white, because if not, it's not gonna look that good. Obviously, now I have that. I'm gonna grab my reference point right here, and then I'm just gonna put it on top of this like that. And now there you go. I have my drawing. I have my dash lines, and I have my chunk. Now, this guy here, to be able to get the contour line of that guy, we're gonna do the same process. We can either do this, and we can do a Boolean curve. If I pick everything, obviously the curve Boolean does take longer. So, but it did it though. No, I do have one error here. So you can see when the birth Boolean, when you have an error, you know where the line is not close. That means that, for example, I don't have a close line there. So you see, so that's what I mean by cleaning your model. I'm gonna extend that. I'm gonna use the command extend. I'm gonna click this line, click the other one, press enter. So click, and then this line extends, or you can do it manually by clicking the point. So now it should be okay. I should be able to select this whole thing, curve Boolean, then click outside, and then I have my line. And I already have a outer line layer, and I suggest that you guys create one as well. So that's gonna be your thickest line. I have it at 1.2, and I call it outline. So I'm gonna have all my outlines on that layer. So now that I have that, now what I want to do, and I'm gonna go to the finished drawing so we can see it better here. Now I'm gonna turn my line weights back on. Okay, so now I have my line weights turned on. What we want to do is we want to be able to achieve this type of result where I have the white and then I have the black behind it. So I'm gonna have my outer line right here. Once I have my outer line, what's gonna happen is that when I put my outer line, it's gonna start to go over. Let's see if we go over here. You see, starts to go over the white, right? So what I want to do is I want to click my group. So now that I have this group, you can see how the outer line goes over the white, and I don't really want that. So what I want to do, I want to click it. I want to do bring to front, the command bring to front. When I bring to front, what's going to happen is that now the white is going to be over the outer line. Now, my outer line right now, I want it to look more chunky. So if you don't like the thicknesses of this, you can just make your outer line a bit bigger. So like if I were to grab this and put it like a 0.4, I can make it bigger. So right now I have a 1.2 on it. You can also make the white smaller in terms of line weights. Right now I have the white at 0.5 right here. So if I were to click on it, I can change the line weights. So if I put it at 0.35, then the white becomes thinner. So 0.5 does kind of look nice because then it really like pops. Now obviously the next step is to put this in one line way. I suggest just put this in only one. If you're using my template, I have 3 line weights in here. I would recommend to use tertiary 1 maybe. That one's like thin, it's not too thick, and it looks it looks appropriate. Now once you do that, and you have your line weights for your house for the remainder of the project, and then you have your inside lines, and then you have your chunk already in there. Now I want to do an offset of my curve, so then my drawing pops more. So I'm gonna do offset, and then when I do my offset, you can see how my edges are round. I want to leave it like that because if I do it on the top here, if you can click different choices. If I put it on sharp, it looks weird, like it looks like chopped off, and I don't really like that. So I'm just gonna do a smooth, so then the offset looks nicer. I'm gonna do that once, and then after I do that, I'm gonna do it one more time, but I'm gonna do it at a different distance. I was doing it at a 0.3 distance. I'm gonna do like 0.2, or let's say 0.15, and now I'll explain now why. So once I do that, you're gonna have 2 lines like that. Now I want to now make this one a smaller line weight than the contour from the inside. So I'm gonna go into maybe my secondary 2 and change the object layer to that. And then I'm gonna go to this one, and I'm gonna go to my tertiary 1 and change it. Now what that does is that it pops the drawing more, like and you can do more offsets. In this one, I just did 2 offsets, but I did a bigger distance here. So again, like it just, when you look at the drawing, it pops nicely. Like you can see the contour, but then you can see some you can see some off off offsets in it. Sorry. Okay. You can continue to do more if you want to, so you can get creative with this. Don't do too many though; it might become a little overwhelming. So like, just do to a point where you feel like it looks nice. So again, just this one's gonna be a smaller line weight. I'm gonna do it thinner. So then again, like it starts to really encapsulate the drawing itself. So let's do that for this diagram, just the way I'm showing it. And I've showed you guys before in a different diagram. So again, now this is the first part, and this is the first diagram that we're going to be doing. So it's going to be location of chunk and how it compares to the rest of the model. Okay, so now for the second part, we're going to talk about the exploded axonometric chunk. And first thing, obviously, is that you want to have your chunk model. Once you have your chunk model, you want to make a copy of it. And then now think about what are the things that you want to extrude. So if I go back to my axon view, I said, make sure you have a view for this too. I'm going to go to my axon view. So obviously the way I started was with nothing like this. And then I went in and I started to separate with the gumball. I would just type a distance of, let's say, 100 or a little bit less, maybe 50. Or in between, and then I started to just give it specific distances, so then I get like a nice and tight exploded. So again, pick the elements that um you think can be on their own, and obviously, for example, this one I had a window condition, so then I just kind of popped the window to the other way. I grabbed the entire element together with the window, and then I just with louver windows, and then I just exploded it the other way. So again, just make it nice and tight. Don't make this exploded like super out like this, where like you have things out. Let's avoid that. Let's keep it tight in that portrait aspect, and then disperse the parts accordingly to how you are developing your model. Okay, so after you do that, and after you have the elements separated like this, now the next step to do this, we're not gonna make a make to D from here. I mean, we can do a make to D with the script, but we're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna turn the model in a 30-60 degree, just like this, right? The whole point of that is so that we can apply hatches to this model, and immediately we can copy it to this model here. So because they're in the same view. So if I go to my top view, now I can just purely work in my top view. I don't have to be in 3D anymore. Technically, this is in 3D, but I'm not going to be working in 3D now. I'm just going to be working 2D. So everything that I need to do, I can do it from here. Or if I need to do something specifically, I can go to 3D. Now, the way to do this, I have given you guys a script as well that gives you the model automatically. It puts it in this view. So what we're going to do is that make sure that you have a copy. So once you have this, make sure you have a copy of it, just in case you want to always go back to the original. Same thing with the house. If you want to do it like this, it's the same process. So the way that I did it at the beginning, which was a make to D from the view, now you can do it this way and then do the same entire process that I did here. So make sure that you have a copy of your model. So just make a copy of it. So you have one that's in the right position. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to click the model right on the top view. You have to be on the top view. So click the top view. Then I'm going to go into my Python coding. And I'm going to use this script that I gave you, 6030 axon in top view. So you're going to click on that, right? You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is click, start debugging, debugging file. So now, when you press it, it's going to tell you left, right preferences, right or left. Okay, so if you do, I believe if you're facing like whichever face that you're facing, which is for us, it's going to be this way. And for the house, it's going to be this way. Depending how you have your model in Rhino, that's how this option is going to be rotated. It's either going to be, let me just put this down for a second. The view is either going to be like this or like that, meaning the other way. So right now I'm working on this view, so I want to stay in that view, and same thing with my model. if I go to my 3D model, I'm working on this view like this, obviously. So then I don't want my model to be turned the other way. I want this view like that. So I'm going to go back to Python. I'm going to click play on that script. And then I'm going to select the objects that I want, right? So this is the object that I want to be turned. I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to put left, I believe is the one that we need to pick. If not, we'll be right, but I think it's left. Press left. And then when you're in here, this is super important. You have to type 60-30. If you don't do that, it's going to put the model facing down, okay? So we want it facing up. So make sure that you do this. This is a very critical step. So do 60-30, then press enter. And then boom, there you go. So yeah, I was right. So it was the left face. So if your model is facing this way and you want this side, then it's gonna be the left side. If your model's backwards and it's in this side, you want the right side. So again, if I were to have this and I make a copy of it and I were to have it this way and I want it to be turned the right way, then I'm gonna click it, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna pick right, I'm gonna do 60-30. And then it's gonna do that view right there. So you can see it's the same thing, but it's because I want the face in the correct way for the view. So this is a very cool thing because now you don't have to turn that model. Now your model in the top view is in 3D and at the same time it's turned, so you can work on it at the same time as the top view. So once you have that, that's it. You don't need to use Python anymore after this. Once you have that, then what you want to do is now have your model, your make to D of your model. So we're gonna obviously now in the same top view, you can do a make to D of this now. So I can click this whole thing. I can actually use Python actually for this one. So I'll use my make to D script. I'll do start debugging. And then I have my make to D here. Okay. So I have already done my make to D. I've already cleaned it up. Just a couple of advices when you guys do this. You see how my model's in layers? Obviously, make sure that your stuff is in layers so it's easier to separate. So what I mean by that is that when you have your layers and they don't have any line weights, let's say that you bring it to the drawing template because you have this in a different drawing file. You go to your make to D layers, and then obviously, like if I have this layer that for me is called chimney, I right click it, I do select object just for this one because I want to treat this guys separately than the middle drawing. So I'm going to group this. So then it's easier for me to just pick it and then change line width as I wish since it's the same group. So as you can see, when I go to my top drawing that I've already edited and cleaned up, which all of you have to do, I'm sure that you're going to have some imperfections like lines that are like fussy that you don't really need. Go and clean your line weights, clean your lines, then delete stuff that you don't need. Like I have all these little lines here that they don't need to be there. So I went in and I cleaned all of that already. So you're going to make sure that these things are in groups. So again, when I click on this, it's a group. When I click on this, it's a group. When I click on this, it's a group. And the way I do that is it's easier to then manipulate. Here I have two systems. I have this system and I have that system. So they're in two different groups. So this is one system. This is one system. This is one system. This is one system. So again, like based on the layers that you have and based on the way that you modeled it and separated it in Rhino, that is the way that you should continue to work like that. So it's easier to manipulate because maybe some things you want to give a thickness that other ones don't have and vice versa. So now, once you've cleaned your model, everything is nicely done, and you get to this point where you start to do line weights, then the line weights here, for example, I'm using my tertiary 1 line weight. And then for this one, I'm using my secondary 2. So I'm making these darker because these are my exploded elements. And then this is like my center drawing, but since I've already seen that, I already know what it looks like, I'm just going to make it a little bit lighter and I'm not going to emphasize it as much. I'm just going to keep it light like that for now. So right after that, you do your line weights and you are sure that everything looks okay and everything looks good. Then after that, you're gonna do your outer boundaries, right? But for example, let's say that you're not getting your mesh outline, it doesn't work. Just go to your cleaned up geometry, click your group, and just do curve boolean. I mean, that's your second way around. And then just click outside, you get a new curve. Okay. So just make sure that you clean your stuff. So then when you do your curve boolean, everything is a closed curve. Okay. So now I have my line weights for my middle part. I have my line weights for my side exploded elements, and I have my outer lines for these guys. Obviously, I will probably add more outer lines just like the way we did this, so it pops nicely. So maybe the middle drawing will have that, so it pops, and then these are gonna be more of like one line. So maybe I do two offsets, and let's do that together. So I'm gonna grab this one. I'm gonna offset it. Maybe uh let's do point 0.3. Let's do 0.3, and we're gonna keep it on the soft. And then let's do 0.15. And then let's do one more at 0.05. So now I'm gonna click the first one. I will probably do like a secondary 2 here. Then this one, a tertiary 1. And then this one, tertiary 3. Let's see how that looks. And obviously just maybe that's too much, too little. So I'm gonna do this one on my secondary 1. This one on my second, maybe keep that one tertiary 1. And then this one, I'm gonna separate it more. So I'm gonna do offset. And I'll probably do the same distance, 0.15. Or let's do 0.1. So 0.1. And then that one I'm gonna do it at tertiary 2. Right. So then it like pops out nicely. Oops, I have something weird there. I'm gonna delete that. Okay. So now that I have my offset there, I'm gonna go in and do an offset for all the other ones. Okay, now I have already done all my offsets. I even went back to the main one and I added one more. I thought it was nice to like close it even more and like really make it the center of the drawing. So then it feels a little more centralized. And then the other ones, I just gave it one offset just to make the object pop a little further. So right after I'm done with that, now I want to think about either am I gonna color inside? Am I gonna make this a line, a white line with drawing just like we did here? I think that is entirely up to you guys. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this. I've already shown you some techniques, so I would get creative and either you can do a complete black and white drawing, which is completely fine. I think these are also very clean too. Or you can get creative with the colors and then let's say that I select this whole thing. That's why it's nice to have groups because I can just select all of them. They're already in groups. I don't have to worry about anything. I'll group this again one more time so I don't have to select it again. Now they're all one entire group together. Then I will hatch this guy or even maybe hatch from the inside and then this outer line become part of my language, obviously. So let's try another line. Okay, that one worked. So if let's say I do this line, then I have my line weights. I can also go for a look for this different type of look. And then if I were to be the case, then I'll go here and I'll make my lines white again. So again, you can like go for something like that where you have color and you kind of emphasizing your other model, or you can entirely just do a different type of color. But I mean, like, I think if you keep it the same, if you're gonna do color on this one, and this one you're gonna do color, I think I will keep the same color so it's cohesive. Uh, the only thing that I would think that I can change colors might be like if you wanted to differentiate the panels on the walls and stuff with different types of colors, you can. Just make sure that it doesn't look too like clunky or too much, since this is more of a simple diagram. But if not, you can just go with the black and white, or you can do it black. You can do a complete black. Let's just pick a black layer. You can do a complete black one, right? Which also looks clean, and then you can make the lines white. Yeah. So again, just get creative with it, do something cool, and that's the whole point, to like get creative with these diagrams. Now, the last part that I have to show in terms of like line work is gonna be the hatches. So reasoning why we put the model this way is so like we can add hatches and then just transfer them to the 2D drawing. We're not gonna make 2D of them. We're not gonna explode them. We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna apply them in the 3D model, grab them, and put them in the drawing itself. Um, and you're gonna see how that works. So yes. So obviously save your file if you have that. Make sure you save your stuff. Now that I have this, and later on in design, when we're doing our layout, we're going to add our dashes. I think it's going to be better to add them there so we can add different elements to the dashes. If we want to get creative with the arrowheads and stuff like that, we can. So the way that the items are exploded, we're going to do that in design. We can also set up the lines here, obviously, and then do it in design, which is not a bad idea either. But since we're going to print this from Rhino as a JPEG, then it makes no sense to do that unless you were taking it to Illustrator and you did it there. So um, I think for this process specifically, we're just going to print from here and then take it to InDesign as a JPEG. So, okay. So now for hatches, what I want to do though, I want to make sure that I dupe face border the first one that I want to do. Let's say I want to do this floor. I'm going to select that surface. I'm going to do face border, and I'm going to get the border of that, a line work that I can click and hatch, because you can't just hatch on the surface. You have to have some type of line that you can hatch to. So I'm going to do the command hatch. Then I'm going to select the curve, this one. It needs to be close boundary, obviously. Then I'm going to click enter, and then I'm going to just click inside, press enter. And then it's going to give me a solid, obviously, for now, but then I have a lot of hashes here that I can choose from. I think in the assignment, I'm going to include a folder that you guys can install hatches from. And actually, just on that note, let me show you how to install a hatch, so then you guys have a lot more hatches to use. Installing a hash is really, really easy. Just go to your options. So I usually just type units to go to my Rhino options. Then when you're in your Rhino options, your document properties, you're going to go into hatches, right? And these are going to be all the hashes that you have. I mean, not all these, but like the ones that Rhino comes with. I believe the drawing template that I gave you already has some hatches inside. But I want to probably give you a couple more. So what I want to do is that I want to import. So if you go to hatch and you import, okay, so I'm in my hatches now. And this is the way that a hatch file looks like. It's called, it has this little FX and it's a PAT file. That's what you're basically going to install. So once you go and do that, you can just click a bunch of them, right? You like click one, then you do shift, you click one, and then you open. And when you open, they're going to then open into Rhino. So I might either give you separate files, or I might have like, this is like a huge master file. It's a bigger file. It has a lot more hashes. So I'll probably give you that and a couple more. I have a lot more that you can also install. So I'll probably give you all these hashes so you have them. Again, just click the hash. So if I click one, for example, I'm going to click this one. Then it's going to give me that hash, right? And I'm going to put OK. Then it's going to say that I already have it. So obviously I'm not going to do it. But once you do it, and if you, for some reason you have a duplicate, just say, put yes to all, and that's okay. So for now, I'm just going to cancel because I already have that. But that's the process into installing a hash in your computer. So, okay, now that we have our line work and outlines, and everything picked and everything just resolved and clean, we're going to move into hatches. Now on hatches, the reason why we're turning the model using the script that I gave you guys on this angle is so we can just directly map the hatch on the surface itself, and basically the hatch is going into the actual surface instead of just being a flat surface. So it's actually going to get the angle of the model itself. That's why we're turning the model. So we're going to basically map the hashes in their 3D model, and then basically when we have them, we just grab a reference point, put it on top here, and then you're done. Now for this exercise, I'm going to leave the middle one with no hatches, and I'm just going to hatch the pieces. in specific surfaces, I won't hatch everywhere so it doesn't become so busy. I want this piece to just stay clean, white, and then these are the pieces that I'm exploring and I'm hatching. You can explore if you want to hatch the insides of the model as well. For me, I'm just gonna leave it out clean, um, because then it might become too busy. So for this diagram specifically, I will leave it clean. So the first thing I want to do, I want to go and delete this line for a second. I'm gonna click my first surface and I'm gonna just do face border, right? And I'm gonna click my surface. I'm gonna press enter. Then I'm gonna get a curve, right? So that's my curve, so I can do the hatch. Make sure that your auto plane is on. That's gonna help to reset the view and be able to map the hatch correctly. If it gives you issues, just turn it on and off, and then sometimes it glitches. So just have it on for now. I'm gonna click the line. I'm gonna hatch and pick a hash for that. I'm gonna go for like, and you can keep these things very diagrammatic. Go for like a tile maybe. So then I'm gonna switch the angle. I think here like you can switch the rotation of the hatch, and then here you can change the scale. So I have it at 0.5. If I put it at 0.2 smaller, if I put it at 0.1, it's even smaller. So again, like, play with a good scale. I think I'm just gonna leave it at 0.3. And then you can just put OK. So now my hatch is there. Now, if I want to change the layer, I'm just gonna go here and go to my hash layer hatches, and then I go to one of them and change it to like a nice thin one. So now that I have that, I mean, you can continue to work on the model, or I can just transfer it already to the model, right? But before I do that, I want to show you that if I go 3D, I can see the hatch mapped into the surface, right? So that's the angle that I'm getting. I'm not getting a flat hatch. I'm getting an angle hatch that goes with the geometry of the 3D model. So it looks to its original shape and view. So I'm going to grab that, put it here. And then now I have my hatch there, right? So I'm just going to be like picky about it. I'm not going to do just hatches everywhere. So maybe I leave this clean white, so then it's cleaner. And then I'm going to do the same. So if these were my floors and I'm doing that as my floors, I'm going to continue doing my floors in the bottom. So now here I'm going to do the same. Here I already had some lines that I had done. So I'm going to use these lines. I use the command do face border, and then I just clicked on each surface to be able to get the line. So I'm going to manipulate these as their own hatch. So I'm going to do hatch. I'm going to select the layer that I want them to be already, which is this one. And I'm going to click it to hatch. And then they're already going to be in the angle that I want them. I'm going to put OK. Do the same thing here. Or maybe I can leave that one blank and then just do it on top of the surface, right? Since that's just a stair step. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get rid of that line. Don't need it. Okay, now that I have the hatches for this, right? So I have this one here and this one here. Now when I move those into here, I'm going to turn my print display on. Okay. So now I have this little problem here where the hatch is going over. That's completely okay. What I want to do is I want to get this line inside of this. Like I want to get this boundary. So for that, I'm going to do curve boolean. I'm going to just go like this, get that outer line as a reference line. And then I'm going to click it and I'm going to do trim. All right. So it's going to delete, when I trim, it's going to delete what I underneath. So you can do that technique for if you have excess hatch that is going over. Now, another thing that I have is that the hatch is going over my main lines, right, in both cases. So what I want to do is that I want to click both hatches and I want to send to back. Once I send them to back, then they're going to be behind the line work itself, okay? So now I have my hatches in here and I map them inside the surface. And I will do the same for the rest of the surfaces. So I will map some of them out. I'm not going to do all of them, leave some poches out. Maybe show different, maybe even if I wanted to do something like this where I do curve boolean of this, right? And since this is a wall that's being sectioned off from there, obviously you need to make sure that your lines are completely close to do that. So for me, it was not the case. Worst case scenario, if you don't want to spend the time fixing it, you can just draw the profile like this, super quick, just to give you a hash pattern. And then I'll go like this, the same thing, go like this. That's if the curve boolean is not working and then you can't really find where the line is. The same amount that's going to take you to fix this, the same amount that's going to take you to do this very quickly. So I'm not opposed to drawing this little curve again. So now I have that, I'm going to group it and I'm going to hatch. Right. And then here I might just choose a solid, right? And then you can like have a separate layer for that. Do it lighter. Right. And then that can be like just a way to show that you're sectioning off. And then you can even like grab this line and you can offset it inside. And then it offsets inside, right? So like then I get like a, and I'll probably do maybe like a smaller offset, and that's pretty big. Do like 0.1, right? And then I can make that a different color. Like I can make that white, right? So it like breaks that, or I can make it black just to like make the graphic a little bit stronger. I mean, up to you. You can get creative with this. There's a lot of different versions of how this can look like. Let me do. I'll do 0.3. And since I was gonna make it black, and it's a thicker line weight, then it will look better. Right. So again, like you can get creative with this, and you can even then like trim the inside of this white. So if I click here and I put trim and I click the outside of it, then it trims the outside of the hatch, right? And then I just get like this like thickness, which does look nicer actually than the full thing, because then you're like showing materiality inside and you can get creative with that. And then this line in the middle, I can also make it black if I wanted to, just to continue that section cutoff, right? So again, like play with these things and get creative with it. You can even do that in the floor slabs when you're doing it. So, or you can just keep it consistent to just do it on the walls at the top and specific areas. So again, like that's just like graphically, you can do that and it will look nicer. In this one, I probably would like to offset it actually. Let me offset 0.2 maybe, a little bit less, and then do the same line weight, the primary that I was using, and then do the same thing again, trim. So again, when you trim patches, you can select them. You have to just click the line that you want to trim from, and then just trim along with. Now, when you get something like this, for example, like I would just like fix that obviously. So like, if you control shift and you select, you can just delete some of those lines that you don't need, right? And then just kind of like delete the excess lines so that it's clean. So, um, so again, get creative, create some type of new ways to like show this. You can even show it in color too. I was just showing it in gray, but like for example, if you're doing like a green theme where I'm doing like all over green, I can show this green and I can get the acrobatic with it and get uh, super creative with it in terms of how I show color. Maybe you even show color, but just in the sub slabs. Like you can get really creative with it. It doesn't have to be just done one way, which is what I'm doing. I'm kind of just kind of throwing ideas out of like other ways that you can take and experiment with, so it comes out as a nice drawing. So, all done in Rhino. So, um, yeah, like that's one way we can do this. I'm gonna keep it gray for now, but darker gray maybe. Or, yeah, something like that, right? And I'm gonna go in and then start to shape the rest. And then we'll go. Then after that, we'll go back and then we'll go into printing the actual images, both this one and this one, and then taking it into InDesign. Okay, so now that I'm done with adding all the details, I actually went in and like added a border through using curve boolean. Um, Obviously, if you see stuff like this, just bring to front always, like just bring your line. If you see anything going over the line that you don't want, just do bring to front. So then everything is nicely clean. So I went in and I added different hatches. I started to like break the walls differently in each of these like studies, breaking the walls differently. In some of them, I decided to do that top part, so just did it on one. Then I went to the main center model, and I was like, well, I think it's looking too blank. So then I went in and I lightly gray colored the poches that I'm exploring, and then into one of them, I did a different texture, like almost like a aggregate texture on it. Um, so again, just to like make it pop a little more, and I can understand more of the sections. And again, some of them I just went in and hatched in the floors. This one I left it completely blank, and then I added the glass marks. These are all uh, glass pieces. So everywhere that I had glass, I added my glass notations. So again, as you can see, I'm done with this. And again, level of detail in terms of cleanness, and then also keeping it very clean. I didn't want to just put the same texture on the wall again. So on this one, I left it clean, just to explore something else within the drawing. So each of them have their own exploration and what they're trying to look at. Um, okay. So one command that I wanted to show you guys what very quickly was the mesh property command. And I wanted to show it because um it's super beneficial. So like if I were to hatch this, for example, into this, and then I have another hatch here that's different. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to like do hatch and hatch and hatch all the time. I can just do match properties. And then I can select the one that I want to modify, which is this one. And then I want to copy this one. And there you go. And then you get the same hatch. So this is like super useful once you're like going from the model and you're extracting the surface, putting it here, and then going back and forth. It helps a lot to like match properties, so then you don't have to like go look for the hash and do it again. Okay, now that we have the drawing done, now we can print it. So we can either print it as a PNG or we can print it as a PDF. Um, for this one specifically, we're gonna do it as a PDF. So if you Control P, the printing the screenshot comes out, and I have already set a view. But to do this, make sure that on the top you just go to Rhino PDF. Then you're gonna have it in portrait for this image, and you're gonna set a window. So you click set, and then you set your window, like you draw your window in, press enter. Then now you have your window in. Then I'm gonna print it, and I'm gonna already use one that I already have. And then it should print, and it prints out really nicely. The line weights come out really good. Since it's a vector drawing, it doesn't lose quality. So um yes, so then now let's do the other one. Same idea. In terms of the settings for the line weights, I did not change anything. I left everything the way as it is. So these are my settings here, so I'll just gonna show them. I haven't changed anything. All I'm doing is I'm changing the portrait landscape. Now I'm gonna go landscape, and I'm gonna set window. I'm gonna choose this one and press enter. I'm gonna print it. Make sure I'm a PDF. Then I'm gonna do my other diagram. Put yes, and then now Adobe opens it, and there it is. And that is the other one. So everything comes out nice and clear. And now we're gonna move into InDesign. Okay, so now I'm in Design. I already put my image in. Um, so I put my axon nice and big in the center of the page, and then I added my diagram in the bottom. I put a stroke to the image itself. So then I can notate it more as a smaller diagram since this is my main drawing. So if I do Shift W, I'm able to see how it looks like. So then I have my diagram at the bottom here. And then I have my main drawing in the middle of the page with my text, my title of the assignment, my name at the bottom, and some graphical elements in the page, which I encourage all you guys to experiment with elements around the page. Instead of just leaving it blank, I will experiment and do graphical stuff that makes sense to you, what you're trying to do, and to make the page a little more enriching and nice. It's all about practicing the graphical design once you're done. So once you're done with the drawing, the assignment's not done. This is the other part, which is designing your page and how you want to do it. Now, in InDesign, you can do layers. So if you don't have the layers tab, you can just go to Window and make sure that you have it on, and then you can just organize it however you like in your browser here. I like to work with layers, so I have all my images in a layer. So I'm gonna just block that layer for now, because now what I want to do my dash lines, and my dash lines of like how the things are being exploded. So I'm gonna use the pen tool, and then I'm gonna start to think, where should I put these lines and where should it matches better. So I'm gonna start just putting them in and trying to see how I organize it. So for example, this one here, probably will do it here. I'm gonna change obviously I'm gonna change the line weight. Another thing, if your page is a little bit slow because the image is like really high quality, you can always go to view, you can go to display performance, so you can put typical display. It just makes it faster. And right now I don't really need to see the image and how it looks like. I just want to put these dash lines in first. So I'm gonna go here, maybe put it like that. Then I'm gonna change the stroke to a smaller stroke, so like 0.5. I'm gonna make it gray up here. I'm gonna change the tint to maybe 60%, and I'm gonna start to see how that looks in the page. The next step is to make it dash. So let's do dash line. Let's see which one looks better. This was too big. I can change the numbers here. So if I do like 6 or 4, maybe. So this is kind of like how I want you guys to do your dash line. So this one starts to look a little bit nicer. Let me see how it looks in the page when I do Shift W. So I keep doing Shift W so I can start to see what it's looking like every time. So that looks clean, right? Now, if I wanted to get a little bit more creative, I can click on this in the stroke, and then I can give it a head to see if it's doing anything for me. So like if I were to give it like a circle head, and I click on the line, and then maybe make it bigger, so like 200%, to see if something is doing. Then on the other end, I'll do the same, maybe with a black circle, then the head higher. If it's not doing anything, I won't do it. But if I like it, I think I start to like the result of that, where I go from down up, down being the darkest, up being the lightest. So I'm gonna go with that. Now in this area here, I have, since I don't have this wall interrupting, I have to go down and I have to merge down in here and see how that looks. Right. So I go from this corner to that corner and I start to clean that up. So I'm gonna do that. Then I'm gonna put one higher and do the same. Again, you can have this in higher quality. It's just you work quicker. Like I can have it like this, right? Sometimes it depends on your performance, but again, you can do it like this, not an issue. It just runs a little bit slower, so it depends how quick you're doing it. So I'm gonna continue putting my dashes. So again, when you guys are organizing these, make sure you don't do them like random. Make sure like you do them based on the object and where it looks best to put them. Again, you don't have to do that circle. I'm just doing it because I like it. It's all personal preference. Then I want to put one here. Then I'm gonna test if this looks good in the middle. Sometimes you don't want to put stuff in the middle, but that's not bad. That actually just kind of brings the corner together, which is pretty nice. So maybe I'm gonna try on this one. I'm gonna try on this one. I'm gonna try going up actually from this corner up, right? Because these two corners are going up. I don't need to do it on the smaller corner, but I can do it going up, so it doesn't feel too fuzzy. And then here, I am gonna bring this corner up here. And then I'm gonna bring this corner down here. I'm gonna copy, bring this corner down. You can also just leave it without one of the faces. So if I were to do that and then you leave it without it, you can also do that as well. That also looks very clean. Now I've done it for the ones going up. Now for the ones going sideways, I'm gonna do the same, but I'm just gonna grab this and I'm gonna twist it. I'm just gonna, there's a little, if you hover over the line like this, you can see there's a twist in here. And I'm gonna put it at 60, right? You can just kind of like guesstimate it there, since this drawing's at 3060. And then I'm gonna grab the corners of this and I'm gonna stretch it, right? Because that's the way I'm pulling the drawing. Then I'm gonna grab this corner, same thing. I'm gonna stretch it. Now, when it comes to like, oh, do I intersect two lines or do I get rid of one and just do the other one? I think on this case scenario, I would leave the vertical one and maybe I would just do this where I bring this one in and then I just connect it and then just kind of leave it like that, just to kind of connect it with that dash. I don't think I need to bring another one since it's like, I think 2 is cleaner for this one. And then I'll do the same on the other one. I'll flip this, rotate it. And do it at 60. Then grab this corner here, bring it all the way in. And also it depends how I'm expecting you guys to explode top, left, right, and bottom. So in this direction, so this should work specifically for everybody's case. Depending how many you're exploding the other way, it's all up to you. I just exploded mostly one piece on each end and then more on the vertical. So so this one's very tiny. But I'll leave it. It's not that bad. And then I have my dashes. So now I have my exploder. Oh, I'm missing actually one more, the window upstairs. So I'm gonna just copy. So if you want to copy, just press Alt, click on the line, and then press Shift to keep the direction, and click. And then you can just move it up. So I'm gonna bring this line here to this corner. And then bring this down like that. And then I'm gonna do the same, copy. So Alt, I usually love to use Alt. It's super useful. And I'm gonna grab the corner here, this, and then bring it in. And then I'm gonna do one more here, like that. So then I have my 3 points going into the line. Okay, so now I have exploded my drawing completely. I've put it graphically. So if I go to my presentation mode, I have put my lash lines. I have put my trunk location where it is. And that's entirely up to you as well. For me, kind of made sense to put it here, just because I made my drawing really big. So to go back to my layers, I can play with how big it is, so it can be a little bit bigger. I think that's fine. Also, I can keep it in between the boundaries of my line of my weights. I can bring my grid in here, then make this smaller, and then match it with the bottom of the page here. And if I look at it, might be too close, so we could probably keep it the way I had it before, like this in the corner. So one thing when you guys are doing your lines as well, like for example, like if I have this line here, you can see like my circle's not perspectile. It's, normal even when I do a bar or anything, like it's not perspectile to the drawing. In this case here it is. You're going to do exactly the same thing that you do for the text to the actual lines. So when I have a line, right, and I'm putting some arrowheads to it, so in technicality, all these that I did here, I can transform them. I can actually do it this way. So it's the actual right way to like do it. So I'm gonna redo these so you can see the difference. But um basically just grab the line, put whatever you're gonna put on it, then right click, transform, shear, and then I want to put it positive that way vertically. So then that's the way to properly do it, right? So this is now one angle and this is one angle now, okay? So if you're gonna do your text this way, make sure that if you're doing lines under it or directly to it, make sure that you change that to shear and you rotate it properly so it doesn't look flat, okay? Also, when you're flipping the lines, obviously, if you're flipping it to the other way, you can just make a copy of it, then you can transform it, and then you can flip horizontal, and then it flips the other way. So you don't have to create a new one. You can just do that, right? So I have one here. I can go transform, flip horizontal, and then I get my line. So, and one more tip in terms of changing layers. Let's say that you have one line in a layer, but you want to change it. So like, let's say that I want to change this layer to the pink layer. The best way to do it is that you control C, you copy it, then you delete it, and then you go to the layer, the pink one, and then you control V, you paste it, and then it comes into that layer. So that's a nice way to like, if there's something that you want that's from another layer, you want to transfer it, you can do it this way. Well, before you delete it, you control C, obviously make a copy of it before you do anything, and then you control V and then you get it on the layer. So, and now I want to annotate and put text, right? So, um, in this assignment specifically, like the text can be done in a couple of ways. Um, Obviously we can grab, and this is all part of the graphics. Like, how do you put the font? Which font do you use? That's part of like the challenge. So, like, do I bring a line under this and then notate that here, or do I use this? For example, like I can go in with the pen tool here. The I can just go in under it, create a line, and before you do that, actually create a new layer here, so you have that layer, right? So that layer always keep your stuff, all the lines separate, so you have one layer for each. So then if I do a pen tool, I'll go like this, and I can just do a straight line to notate stuff in different aspects. Since this is in an angle, you can do it like this, or you can go like this, and like this, for example, where you kind of like bring the text down. Or the other way to do this is by, I'm gonna lock my images. So make sure your images, you have them in a layer too, because now since I have it locked, they don't bother me. Like I don't move them or anything like that. So make sure you have your images in one layer and then the other stuff in different layers. The other way you can do this, which right click on it, I can transform and I can shear it. So I want to shear it maybe 30 degrees. And then what I can do is that if I have it this way, for example, I can rotate it and then it looks like a perspective, right? So again, like you can play with that. So you can like write your text with a line under it and then it can be in perspective view when you shear it, which is a nice, cool thing. That's one way to do it, where you have a perspective. You can do it the flat way. The nice thing about this is that it's mimicking the perspective of the drawing, which is nice because then you can pull lines out per se, and you can kind of go like this, right? And then you can put the description here as a text, and then you can write however you want it, which is pretty nice. So then you can get really creative, and it can look like a really nice diagram with perspective text. I'm probably gonna do mine like that, just because of the nature of the text, but I'll show you other ways to do it. So this is one way. The other way again is just old fashioned, just creating a line and down. You can grab the line and the text, copy it, and then you can just do a straight line with the pen tool, right? And then obviously you can dash it, you can put arrowheads on it, like I was doing before. I mean, like, there's many ways to this. Like, you can kind of do something like this where you point out what you want, and then you have the text above it, right? Or you can have the text like this, where you have this pointing, and then the text is here next to it, and then maybe you have an arrow. I'm sorry, you have an arrow this way, and then you have a little circle that way. So then, like, emphasizes it more. Or you can have a little bracket like that, and you can make that bracket bigger. So clicking into the line, putting this bigger. See, right? So, like, again, like, get creative with it. There's many ways to do this. So again, this way, that way. Now, the last way that I was saying will be if you right click again, if you go to transform and you shear it, and you do negative instead of positive, you click it. And then now when I go into the text and I rotate it, it does it flat on the ground, right? So, like, it's a different perspective. So again, you can do a combination of like this one and this one, or this one and this one, right? Like, or you can even combine it like with this and the straight. I mean, it all depends, as long as it's not looking weird and keeping the same language. But again, these are all very cool ways. Like, you can even bring a text, a line under this, then turn the corner, right? And then give you a description, right? So where you do this language of like doing that, or the text is above the line or below the line, or like this. So again, like, you can keep that same angle and work with the angle of the drawing, and you can get super creative with that, right? So, like, again, like, and you can put it in different sides of the pages. So to go over one more time, we have the regular one with the line like this. Then we have the perspective one, which is the vertical. So if I were to grab it, right click, transform, shear, and I do vertical and I do positive, then it does it that way. It does it in the perspective immediately. And I have it at 30 because my drawing is at 30, so I don't have to rotate it. Right? So it's almost like mapping out this thing in Axon in InDesign. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to map mine out and show you the final product. Okay, guys. So this is the final product. So if I put it in presentation, so I decided to go with the 3060 text. So again, naming all my diagrams what they're showing with simple words, but also like graphically that they look nice and bold. And then I decided to use this arrowhead with a bar, so then I can note into stuff a little bit clearer, and then just have the text float in the white space instead of having a line under it. I mean, again, many ways to do this. This is the way that I did it. I'm only doing, this is just an example, so it doesn't mean that you guys have to do it like this. I encourage you to do it differently and learn other ways to do it, so then you get better at this. Okay. So yeah, this is everything for this assignment. In terms of the quality, this is kind of what I'm looking for in terms of line weights and organization, making sure everything's clean, nicely presented with your name, assignment name, and play with the graphics on the page. Think about how you want to frame the page and how does it work as a presentation. I also named my look, you know, put chunk location diagram, making sure that I'm notating as well my diagram in the page. So again, I'll put this um, in the assignments sheets, in the assignment in Canvas, so you guys have the reference. And I hope the tutorial helps you to learn something new and challenge yourselves with something differently that you guys haven't done before. And hopefully it's something that you guys learn new in design. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.